Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry to be the bearer of bad news yet again in regards to Dark Road. Obviously not the most important thing going on in the world right now, but I thought, given it's a Kingdom Hearts channel, I thought I'd keep you updated all the same. Initially they said the Dark Road was coming out in late September 2021, but they've now decided to postpone it. Bang, the next tweet they put out was a little bit after September, in October, saying, oh, it's coming out this winter, referring to the Northern Hemisphere winter, which of course, I believe ends in March 21st, I think. So they said, oh yeah, the entire finale streaming this winter. I put out a couple of new screenshots, which was also teased during the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary celebration announcement video. They at least acknowledged Xehanort and his little story in Dark Road. Would you believe it? It's been delayed yet again. Unfortunately, as a couple hours ago, they tweeted out that they're basically blaming the significant addition of content that they've decided to put in the update, but basically saying that it's going to take a little while longer, yet again, from that winter initial date. So, yeah, sorry, winter revised date, I should say. So, unfortunately, it has been delayed again. But, you know, again, obviously there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. Perhaps they would... Because it makes a lot of sense to release it during the anniversary event, right? I guess it doesn't really make sense to release it, even if you do it at the end of winter. And then 2 weeks later, you have one less thing to announce. It's like, oh, we just released Dark Road. I'm hoping the delay is so it gets included in the 20th anniversary event, which happens a couple weeks after the official end of winter on April the 10th. I'm hoping that's what they mean by a little longer. It's interesting that this time they're actually acknowledging the delay from the beginning, and they're not again, they said it was coming out in the end of September, and then they waited till October the 5th to actually acknowledge, oh, it's not out yet, even though well, obviously it's not out yet. We're not playing it right now, therefore it can't be out. At least they're biting the bullet earlier on and saying, hey, okay, it's not out. It's not coming out at the end of winter, don't get your hopes up. But it's coming out a little while after. Again, hopefully they at least clarify and locked out an exact date at the 20th anniversary event, if it doesn't drop there and then. I hope this is the final delay and it drops at the 20th anniversary event, but again, I will not believe this is coming out until my phone is literally saying downloading right now. Until even if they say it's coming out on a date that we've been burned in the past, where it's like, oh, it just didn't come that day. Whoops, sorry, pal. So I just for anyone getting their hopes up, I'm very, very sorry. But this is this Dark Road in a nutshell. Union Cross. It's just a lot of effort, a lot of ambition going into one. I mean, that's the best and worst thing about it is you can tell they want to do all this awesome stuff with it, but it does take work. It just takes a lot of work, and it ends up being a quality product, but with such a small team working on it. And again, at this point, they've not been paid for, 9 months at this point? The last time they took any money for this game was in June of last year, I think. So they've now been working on this game that makes no money for at least 9 months, which is pretty insane. And it looks, by all regards, to be pretty substantial quality product. You know, I mean, at least based on people's reactions of Union Cross finale, which were pretty good. Hopefully Dark Road is going to match that tone. So, take as long as you want. Obviously, it's disappointing, but, you know, again, there are bigger things going on in the world right now. Hopefully, we're just going to go, okay, when it's done, and, you know, what else can you do? I mean, it's a delay, it happens, what else can you do? It's not complaining about it's not going to do anything. They're obviously working on it as hard as they can. Just in regards to the content that has been shown off, we can see that there's a cutscene between a person in a black coat and the young Xehanort sitting there on the little rock with what looks to be the black coat beside him. Clearly that's the Master of Masters, because this cutscene was referenced in the Remind DLC. Basically, I can show you that right now, but essentially in the Remind DLC, when we got that little interlude to effectively 75 years prior, Xehanort obviously approaches and he starts talking about, well, I can show you.
Of darkness. It's useful.
Basically, Xehanort is thanking the Master of Masters for giving him the coat, and the Master of Masters is following up on the world tour, because obviously there was a prior meeting. You can infer there was a prior meeting. Master of Masters basically gave Xehanort the cloak and set him off on this world tour that he was going to go do, and we saw a little bit of that in Dark Road already, I believe, where Xehanort goes and visits Wonderland. See, now it's been so long, I can't even remember if it's implied that comes before or afterwards. Doesn't really matter either way. We've sort of seen that now. And I believe I was saying since then, oh yeah, Dark Road will probably show us that initial meeting where he sets Xehanort off. And that looks to be correct. The positioning is really interesting as well. Like, obviously, Kingdom Hearts has a lot of repeated symbolism and visuals and stuff. Xehanort sitting all the way on the right side of the rock, while the Master of Masters walks off and starts talking, is repeated from... Here we go.
Chaos.
The pair sitting together on the rock, and then the Master of Masters will get up,
You sure about that?
facing away, and start talking.
Why not just sit back and watch it play?
So that's basically the same positioning as they're going to have right there. He seems to be talking about, again, I've got Google Translate, that's basically all I can do until the official update comes out. But he seems to be, the translation was kind of funny about it. It seems to be some talking about some sort of like weird light, which I interpret to be the false light that he talks about. Should be 1, 2, 3.
I suppose letting false light dictate the future might be a pretty lousy move.
It could be referring to that, the false light that was referred to in this Remind cutscene here. It could be something different, who knows. But that seems to be what the text box is talking about. And while we're on that note, we get a time frame in this third cutscene here, the 64 years later one, where you see the much older Master Xehanort interacting with the magic mirror inside of Snow White's world. The 64 years later part is interesting because at the end of this cutscene, we do see a timeline which ends almost there. Should be a couple seconds away. 2, 3, 4. Should be now. 75 years later. Yeah, so from this initial Remind cutscene that shows obviously the very young Xehanort talking to the Master of Masters, plus 75 years gets us to the timeline point here, which is just after Kingdom Hearts 3D. So if you take away 11 years from that date, that would put us roughly in Birth by Sleep times, right? Because this is post Dream Drop Distance, which is right after Kingdom Hearts 2. We always knew that, we were always told that Kingdom Hearts 1 takes place 10 years after Birth by Sleep, so Birth by Sleep plus 10 years to Kingdom Hearts 1, plus another year roughly, to get us through Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain of Memories 2, Recoded, and Dream Drop Distance, roughly, should put us roughly in the time where, what I'm trying to say is that basically this cutscene is probably taking place roughly in Birth by Sleep times. Probably a little bit before Birth by Sleep. Maybe Xehanort's going around and kind of like setting up his grand plan, like getting Vanitas to go around and spread darkness. Which is interesting, of course, because if Vanitas is comprised largely of one of the darknesses that has now been freed in this time, basically using Ven as like as a taxi to take itself into the future, perhaps we'll see Xehanort thinking that he's going around running his plan, but he's actually following Darkness's plan after all, and Darkness is like using Vanitas as a vessel to spread itself in this new future, blah blah blah. But what I'm trying to say is basically this looks to be around the time of probably pre-Birth by Sleep, I would have to guess, or maybe during, like Xehanort's going around seeing the effects of the kind of chaos that he's sowing, as you know, Terra's going around stealing hearts and stuff like that. We had got a little bit of a clue about this timeline before from the Xehanort reports from Birth by Sleep, where basically Xehanort's kind of learning about the implications of the Keyblade, learning about the history of light versus darkness, and kind of makes the decision, oh crap, I know what I need to do now, but I'm too old to do it. Whoops. Now I need to go steal a body, a much younger, more pliable vessel that I can actually use and do something about this with. So that's what kicks off his whole plan, to betray Ericus, take over Terra as his pupil. Sorry, take over Ericus' pupil Terra as his new vessel, and kickstart his whole plan. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to get kind of more about that timeline, because it's kind of a huge jump in the Xehanort reports. It's like, I learned all there is to learn. I didn't want to be a teacher, and so I spent my next few years learning more and more and more and more and more. And then it's like hard cut to him being a really old man. Oh crap, I know what I need to do now, but I'm too old to do it. So hopefully this kind of clears up the timeline a little bit of like, what was he doing for the better part of 60 years, it sounds like, because the way the Xehanort reports make it sound like he kind of had everything figured out after the world tour, and after the exam, and then just chose not to become a teacher, let Ericus become the successor and take over the Land of Departure, and then he kind of went off and did his own thing. And then again, the way they set up the timeline, it's like 60-something years of time before he actually gets his shit together and starts off his own plan. So hopefully they clear up the timeline there a little bit. And then the top cutscene there, you've got Xehanort holding the no-name Keyblade, the Master of Masters Keyblade, facing off against Ericus, who is holding his version of the Master Defender. I'm just trying to look now if it looks slightly different than it did in its other incarnation, like maybe a less evolved version of it, but maybe that's just from the screenshot, I don't know. But again, I've only got Google Translate, and it's sort of talking about, I think he's like making a comparison between himself and Xehanort. I'm not exactly sure. It's a lot of text there, and Google Translate doesn't like a lot of text. But yeah, obviously we'll find out soon. They're reusing the asset of the map from the Dark Road Tower. For anyone that didn't play Dark Road, there was a PvE battle mode that would show up once every 2 weeks towards the very end of the game's life cycle, as I think like a kind of like desperate attempt to get people to play the game more competitively, which of course they decided to make not ranked on like the time you completed it, but literally the time you logged on and did it. So the first person that logged in and did it was the winner. Terrible mistake, whatever, we can talk about Dark Road's failure another time as an actual game itself. But looks like they were using that map as some sort of like training area, some sort of sparring area between Xehanort and Ericus. And so yeah, very, very cool. This could be post the time jump, it could be pre-time jump. I would say post, given obviously they were holding out the new keyblades and kind of squaring off against each other. And this could be the initial kind of rupture of the friendship that sets them apart for quite a while. But yeah, I'm very keen. Again, it's disappointing that it's delayed, obviously, but hopefully this will be a good year for Kingdom Hearts fans. Obviously, there's the whole Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary event. A whole plethora of things could get announced there, or nothing could get announced there, but it probably makes more sense from a marketing point of view to just be like, hey, all of Dark Road's available right now. Again, I'm crossing my fingers right now going, that's the real reason they delayed it. And they're using this as like a little thing to get you hyped up. Be like, oh. Again, it's because it's like usually they would tweet out after they've already missed the deadline. The fact that they're announcing it 3 weeks early at this point almost makes it sound like, okay, we either know we're not going to get it done in 3 weeks, or it's done already. Again, really huffing the copium right now, or it's done already and they just want to delay it until the 20th anniversary event itself. I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm hoping it's not going to turn into another, oh, actually delayed again. Now it's going to be out in June. I would like this thing to be released. Obviously, it's disappointing that it's not, but what can you do? A very small team is working on it, obviously, as hard as they can. It's going to look great. It's going to be, hopefully, as impactful as the Union Cross finale. And will lead up towards some pretty cool things in Kingdom Hearts' future. But what do you guys think? Are you disappointed? I mean, obviously, it's not the best news, but it is what it is. Hopefully, no one directs their anger to the developers or anyone working on it, because I know they're trying their bst. And again, they've not been paid to work on this in like 9 months now, so... Alright guys, I'll leave you with it. Hopefully got better news for you soon next time. Take care guys, all the best. See you soon.